All right, good evening. Welcome to Hall Hoops and Happenings. We are finally live. We're late a few minutes. We're waiting for the big announcement, which I'll pass off to Nicole to Gizzy to announce. Again, this is Hall Hoops and Happenings. To my right, Paul Justafan. Paul, how are you?
Good today.
Below me, Nick from Milburn. Nick, how are you?
My favorite time of year with my favorite people with Seton Hall basketball. Things are great.
And, of course, the Gister down there in the bottom right-hand corner.
Happy to be back.
All right. Do your thing, peeps. I'll be here, but doing my stuff here.
Nicole, you want to start out? We just got some news on the women's NIT, and we didn't make the women's NCAA, not surprisingly so, the way the NCAA treats both our men and women's program. Last year, we didn't get into the men's program. Only 3 Big East teams taken. This year, there's 5. At the time, I was screaming at tournament director Charlie McClendon. And this year, the new director picked 5 Big East teams. And no difference I see from this year from last year, besides that, Charlie McClendon was in charge. And, Seton Hall fan base is a great fan base, very passionate, knows their hoops. And, it wasn't fair last year. But on the women's end, we did get in the NIT. And Nicole, share what just happened, please.
Seton Hall has been selected as a 3 seed to play Quinnipiac University from the MAC Conference. I believe the game is going to be played on our home turf in Walsh Gym on Thursday night.
We have to pack Walsh, get a big crowd in there. And then if we win, Nicole, who do we play next and where do we play?
Good question, because I have no idea.
It looks like we would play the winner of the Stanford-Portland game. Stanford is a 2 seed in our bracket with a 18-14 record, which is bizarre, but we'll get to that in a couple of minutes.
Hey, Bill. So we're gonna have to go out west? That's crazy,
right? That seems like, it seems crazy for sure.
So we're going to have to play Thursday. If we win Thursday night, I guess fly out Friday afternoon, practice Saturday and game Sunday. Paul, what do you think?
Well, Nick, let's not put the cart before the horse. Okay, Quinnipiac is 28-4.
But who do they play, Paul? Who does Quinnipiac play?
They're in the MAC. They're playing Fairfield and St. Peter's and the rest of that conference.
And we're playing USC, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, they're, in their schedule, if we take a look at their schedule.
What's their strength of schedule? Are they comparable off the top of your head? Is their strength of schedule comparable to our strength of schedule?
Well, I don't see a single ranked team on their schedule.
There you go.
However, they did beat Princeton, who is in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, Quinnipiac beat Princeton?
Yes, they did, 74-66, and that was early. That was early in the year. I'm taking a look at who else they played. They beat Harvard, who was on the bubble, I believe.
So Princeton was the only comparable opponent?
Harvard made it, by the way.
They beat Harvard. They were in the tournament. Then they get into their conference. It's really hard to tell who else is in the MAC.
Right. St. Peter's.
Right, St. Peter's, and they can be Canisius, so it's hard to tell there. They have a loss to the University of Miami, 83-74 in overtime. Looks like their best player is a young lady named Gal Raviv, who averages 18 points and 5 rebounds a game. They shoot 35% from 3. They've got 1, 2, 3 ladies in double figures. Anna Foley and Jackie Grisdale are the other 2. And I'm just reading this off of ESPN, right? So I don't know anything about them right now. Other than the fact that they have won a lot of games. They finished second in the MAC. And they beat a couple of teams that are in this tournament. But we all know how this tournament goes.
It's not going to be. And what seed are they? 6 seed?
Well, we're at 3, right?
So I don't know how this tournament works. 6?
Yeah, there must be well, they'd either be a 6 or a 14, and I don't think there's enough teams in the tournament for them to be a 14.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Nick.
Mr. Morgan, hello.
Hi, Nick.
All right. So I'm waiting to hear back from Coach Bozella, maybe not tonight, maybe tomorrow, about his matchup or whatnot. But hey, at least one of our teams are playing in the postseason, and again, 3 Ivies making the women's tournament, and Big East getting 2 is ridiculous. I don't care what anybody says. Like Coach Boz is posturing on Twitter or X today. We're the fifth best conference in women's basketball, and we only get 2 teams in. That's that's crazy.
Yeah,
Bill,
but Bobby, we had a shot. We had opportunities.
No.
We had the schedule. Sometimes you look in the mirror and you blame yourself. If we won those games, we'd have a stronger argument. We lost to some really good teams. We played a tough schedule, but it's what happened. Now let's go out and win the NIT.
Bill, the WBIT check. I'm not sure if it'll be on CBS or ESPN by now, but it should be on the NCAA.com website. That's where I was watching. And by the way, as I was mentioning before the show started, that wasn't even a live broadcast, which makes you wonder when they produced that with the player graphics and the player, team showing a little bit of a graphic of the team playing. When was that produced? When that women's show ended around 8:40 was the last team they announced for the women's tournament. That definitely was not live. That was hidden within the website of NCAA.com, and I had to find that little website that revealed the bracket, and it was not live. So that in itself is crazy enough. I'd love to ask Coach about that. Yep, David Claxton. They won a home game against. Again, folks, like Nick from Milburn just mentioned, we have a little bit of an issue at Walsh Gym with the women. We play a local team, and the local teams show up with their fans. Quinnipiac's only an hour and a half away. That's out of New Haven, right? So they're only about an hour and 15 minutes away, hour and a half away.
Yeah, we have a very loyal fan base. We all need to call the box office tomorrow and secure as many tickets as we can. So the Quinnipiac faithful don't come and take over.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much they'll travel. Quinnipiac is a hockey school.
Yep.
And I think that they should be making the NCAA tournament this year in hockey, men's hockey.
Yep.
I don't know, what their women's basketball fan base would be, especially in Connecticut, where the fan base is essentially the Lady Huskies.
As Nick Morgan can attest to, if anybody from the Q school is watching this or will watch this, please bring us some Frank Pepe's pizza on the way down, and we'll enjoy that during halftime.
That's a very good idea.
Otherwise, the women, congratulations on making the WBIT. I saw it in the face of who was it last week? Amari Wright last week. When she did the press conference, the presser after the game, her eyes they were crying. They were upset. So hopefully they've had a week to recover. They've had a week to focus, get refocused, and if you watched the presser last week, Coach Boz was gonna reach out to Coach Shaw and have him talk to the ladies, maybe if he had a few moments, to really motivate them to do the same thing the men's did last year with immense disappointment and go out and win the whole damn thing.
Good strategy. I'm sure what Coach Bozella is doing right now and his assistants is they're because I know Coach Willard did this when he found out who he was playing. They're running around trying to get tape of Quinnipiac because you only have a few days to prep, and they're going to know by tomorrow night. They're going to know all there is to know about Quinnipiac.
Now, real quick, I want to delve into this for a second. Now, No, I think we're all in agreement here. David Nick Claxton, I'm a Mets fan. David Claxton. Yeah, team could have been a top 40 team this year. He's right. Like we mentioned that.
You're right, David.
They could have had that big win. But here's the double-edged sword here. UConn has a great team, but because they're feasting on us and the Big East all season long, they're not getting that number one seed in any of the division, in any of the brackets. So they're number 2. So when are they going to realize that, hey, if we're going to really win some more chips, maybe we should get out of the Big East to go play in a tougher conference.
Or schedule a really killer out of conference schedule.
Yeah.
Like every game has to be against the top whatever team. Because I do know they did, right? They played South Carolina didn't they have a real good road win?
And crushed them.
Yeah.
And watching after the selection for the women, that was one of the criteria that made South Carolina the overall 2 in the tournament, and UCLA was number 1 because UCLA, I think beat USC obviously with Juju Watkins, and South Carolina had that horrendous home loss to UConn by 29 points.
Right.
So that was part of the factor of them not getting the overall number 1 seed, South Carolina.
Yeah, UConn beat South Carolina. They lost to USC by a basket. They actually played a bunch of top 25 teams. They beat Ole Miss by 13. They beat North Carolina by 11.
Good.
So out of conference, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 7 out of conference games against top 25 teams. And then, obviously the 2 games against Creighton in conference, which were both 20-point wins.
Not a horrible schedule at all.
No.
Now, real quick, team. What does Coach Boz have to do to get over that hump? This was a team he knew, and I remember this distinctly at the Big East Media Day. He was super confident about this team being the one that gets over the hump into the NCAAs. And he had a great team this year. What does he have to do to get over that?
I mean, the talent level, and we've talked about this before in women's basketball, the gap between where we are and the teams UCLA, USC, UConn that you just talked about is huge. And I don't know how to get some of those players in here, but you need to, because he's a great coach. He's coaching his players up. He's getting everything out of them. Paige coming in here was a huge addition. It's just, try to do that again and try to, just take our talent to an even higher level to try to compete with these teams. Because, UConn's losing Paige, but they have the freshmen stepping up. So, it's hard being in a conference with them. But the good news is if you beat them, you're one of the best teams in the country if you can ever get to that level.
Yeah, and we have to think, too, it's taken the UConns and Notre Dames and South Carolina's a long time to get to where they are.
Yeah.
UConn played I think that their game against South Carolina, they drew 12,000 to the XL Center. Right? 10 sellouts of the women's team at Walsh gets you 12,000 people. And so it's going to take a while. Think about it. If you were one of the top players, would you want to go play in front of 1,200 people or 800 people every night? Or do you want to go play, at a school where you're actually outdrawing the men sometime?
Let me say this. If half of those 800 people or if half of those 1,200 people were my friends and family and that was the only way they could see me, yeah. I think you look for 2 things at Seton Hall. You look for the kid who doesn't want to go away, who wants to stay with his family or her family, and then the bounce back. The kid that does go away and doesn't have the greatest experience in the world, and then, Alamir Dawes, someone like that who goes away and wants to come back and play for the hometown. That's what we need to do, and then supplement that with some foreign players, because that's what PJ did when we had our run there for a while.
And I have a question for you. When you talk about men's basketball, where to recruit, you're going to be in New York City, you're going to be in New Jersey, you're going to be in LA, you're going to be in some of the cities. Where do you get the best women's players? Do you guys know, is it the same places Is it are you going to boys and girls high school in Brooklyn? Like, where do you get the best women's players? Are they coming from the cities or are they coming from someplace else?
Well, just keep in mind that it's not necessarily the high schools anymore, because kids go all over the country to play in high school. It's the AAU circuit. That's where you find the talent, the AAU circuit.
And how is New Jersey's AAU circuit for girls basketball?
I think it's good. I don't think it's top. I think, maybe Florida has a really good, California. I think it's good. But again, you got to go where the talent is. And I know the staff is going all over the country looking for players.
Like I mentioned, we found Jada Eads in California going to scout somebody else.
Right.
And she was there from Florida. She was from Florida and went to a showcase game or a showcase tournament and was discovered. So, look, we have a great staff there. Coach Boz has been reloading every year. And now it seems like it's starting to become, not only is he reloading, but he's also starting to develop the younger players who are going to now rise up the system. We have a couple freshmen and sophomores there who, got some decent playing time this year that are going to excel. Shaylin Pinckney, who was hurt most of the year, I think is going to redshirt and get another year of eligibility. And she's one of our best players as well. Now, were we getting any height? I don't know. I believe that 6'4" girl, and if Nick's watching, she remembers her name. I think she's a graduate student, if I'm not mistaken. But again, he'll find the players. I know he's excited for a few recruits he has coming in. Coach Boz has mentioned that he will come on our show probably after the season, so maybe we ask him then about some of the recruits coming in. And by then, I'll have maybe a few more that he's looking at.
I mean, and in this day and age, the other thing, too, is you have to recruit your own players to get them to stay. If you said developing talent, that's great, but you have to keep the talent.
Hey, look at this way. We're not from the men's side point of view, we're not in the big dance this year. But hey, maybe we can, as we're watching these games, take some mental notes about some players we like, right? I mean, that's what the big dance has turned in not only to a showcase for the 68 best teams in the country, quote unquote, but maybe it also, now it's a big supermarket of players you might want to get on your own team now because it's an open market system, it seems, right?
Yeah, I think someone mentioned this on here before, but I just watched the 60-minute special on Danny Hurley, and I recommend that to anyone. I thought it was great. But one thing that Danny said was that he thinks at least 50% of his players, if not more, are going to test the portal, and some of them have even talked to other staffs, which you're not supposed to do about leaving. So yeah, it's the wild west right now. But yeah.
But in Danny Hurley's case, you do got to wonder if it's him.
Well, I'm a fan. Look, I'm a fan of Danny. I wouldn't mind. If they make a nice run, I'm all for that. I think Danny, like all of us, is a flawed human being. But he works hard every day, and he has had success. And very, very interesting person. They need more structure. Who needs more structure? That's my daughter. I don't know who she's talking about. That in the NCAA, there needs to be more. Exactly. It can't be like the wild west with players, coming and going and all this. We need some structure to it. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm real quick. Rick Pitino has come out and said we bought this team. The guy from Body Armor has said I'm willing to do anything to keep this going for St. John's. You know what? Let's stop buying Body Armor. If you're a Seton Hall fan, stop buying Body Armor drinks.
Wait, I thought he was vitamin water.
He said Body Armor right? I thought it was Body Armor on the right.
It's Body Armor.
And then I read an article today in the Post where Pitino said, "Oh no, we didn't buy this team because Lewis and the big guy, they were transfers. They aren't making a lot of money. You got a $4 million budget, supposedly. Come on, Rick. I mean,
at 1.4 went to Kadari.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, but I have to tell you, after watching them, I'm impressed by that team. You know, they have Kadari at the point, who makes players better. They have Edgafor inside there, the big man, and Luis Jr. going to be a superstar. I mean, Patino he really has jumped up to the next level under Patino. So I don't know. I think they could make a little run. They also play tough defense, and yesterday they hit a lot of threes. So who knows? William, what's up, my buddy?
What's up, my man? Can you hear me?
Crystal clear.
Yo, man, we got robbed.
Who got robbed?
Clearly, I think Seton Hall, you know what? I think Seton Hall, that one home game, they deserve better than that. They deserve better than that.
Well, we just got to go out. We just got to go out to California, win our first game, and then go out to California and beat them.
You're right. You're right. I agree now.
Are you guys going? Are you going to go cover the team?
I'm going to go to the first game.
You're not going to California?
Hey, if I can hop on the plane, I'll take a ride. I'll take a couple weeks off. I think I'll hop on the plane with them.
Yeah, so ask Coach if you could go. I mean, we got to get some media coverage out there. I'm sure SOU's going.
Yeah, I'll have to pull Jerry Carino and join the team on the flight, right?
Right. I hope Chris Jones gets to go. I mean, Chris Jones is really talented. Our own Chris Jones is really talented.
How much is the flight, man? How much is the flight?
No, we're going their flight.
Okay, we're going their flight.
I paid my dues.
I think you deserve it, Bobby. I think both of you guys deserve it. When you talk to Coach, I mean, come on.
I would say he was very complimentary about to me doing his show. You know, they thanked us. He thanked the band. He thanked SOU.
Yeah.
At the end of his presser last week.
Like you said, anything's possible. You know, Seton Hall, the women's team, you know, they play well at home. You know, let's see what happens on Thursday night. We're shocked. All you got to do is sell out the building.
Amen. Call the box office, 1-800-NICO or whoever tomorrow, or Nick, and get your tickets.
That's it.
We have a great fan base. We have a loyal fan base. You guys are amazing. Come out. Show. There's nothing else. I mean, this is the only games we're playing now. So come on, everyone. Go out. You know, I'm sure not going to be a lot of money. Get your tickets.
And I was very shocked.
I was very shocked.
Hold on a second. Hold on. If you're part of the administration and you're watching this show now or before Thursday, get a second concession stand, please. Get some merchandise, other team on there, so the little girls can walk out with a Seton Hall basketball or a Seton Hall T-shirt, and that's how you build your fan base.
Yeah,
we had a tremendous ally in St. Smithsonian who had little girls every game.
Yes,
from her mom's program, watching and rooting for them. Let's build off of that.
Yes,
you got to have more than one snack stand. You got to have some merch there. I mean, let's do this right, Seton Hall. Come on.
Or keep the bookstore open.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
It's not a hard one.
No. Exactly. Good point. Good point. Before we get to the men, any more thoughts on the women's guys and gal?
I do have something from my former roommate who was a student manager for Seton Hall women's basketball. We were discussing about, you know, where do we recruit for the ladies geographically, but per what her and I were discussing earlier, with NIL, it's all going to come down to who can recruit the most money, and that goes for both the men and the women. So, yeah, even though we were able to recruit from home base in Newark or in Brooklyn in the past, and I mean, we got Jada from California, that might not be the case anymore just by basing it off of that. It's going to be about who can offer us the most money. And if it's true that the Seton Hall women's basketball team only gets 10% of the NIL budget that we have, they're going to be...
Nick, you missed that show. Last show, we discussed that. I read somewhere where when this new stuff comes out, where there's going to be like a salary, that's not a salary, but money to pay the athletes with, that 90% go to the men's, 10% go to the women's team. Is that fair?
It's not. It's 100%.
No, I don't think it's fair.
No, you're right. Real quick, go off of Nikki's point there. We have 2 players from Minnesota. We got 2 players from Florida. Savannah Catalan is from Texas. So whatever we're doing is working. We're getting players from all over the country. I don't think the men's team can say that. So we are getting good players from all over the country to come east and play for Coach Boz. So,
I mean, Seton Hall has been doing an excellent recruiting, under his coaching regime.
You're right. Any more thoughts about the women? All right, before we get to the men's program, what are your thoughts on the Villanova opening? And of course, CBS Sports has to stir the pot by putting in a name none other than Richard Pitino. What are your thoughts about Villanova's opening? And is that going to affect us at all?
Well, I guess
I really don't know, but I haven't seen anything. But I see anything to. I mean, Rick Pitino's son. That's a possibility.
Well, my guess is, so one of the things I heard is that they're talking about Villanova has always been very much a family, whether you call it a family or whether you call it the mafia. They get guys who are from Villanova, their coaches kind of come in within. And then this past year, they went out and got an athletic director from the University of Oregon, right? Which is, steeped in Nike money. So it's possible that they're going to be looking to go in a completely different direction. I also understand that Villanova had a sizable NIL budget this year, and they didn't get their money's worth, right? They didn't make.
Well, they got their money's worth out of Dixon. Whatever they paid a substantial amount to Dixon.
Yeah, but they're not playing this. They're in the NIT if they go at all. They're not going to the NCAAs for $4 million. And what I'm wondering is, if they're going to be looking to get somebody who's a little bit more savvy when it comes to managing an NIL.
Well, they have a general manager, right?
I don't know if they have as a GM.
I think Nova has a general manager, yeah, which is something that I think all schools should get.
Yeah, I think so. But I wouldn't surprise me if they do something completely different. Now, as far as Ricky is concerned, my own personal pet theory is that we're going to see him take an assistant coaching job at St. John's in a year or two, and they'll hand off the reins to him that way. It wouldn't surprise me if they kind of line him up to be his father's successor at St. John's. But it'd be interesting to see because Villanova is a good job too. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they went that way. Bobby Hurley used to be mentioned for a lot of openings, and I'm not sure if he's still one of the hot names. Certainly the coach of Virginia Commonwealth has been successful. They might be looking to him as well. I'm not exactly sure if they've given names out.
A very good friend of mine, a big Nova supporter, told me last week that after the Big East tournament that Nova was going to make a change, and that happened. And then Nicole and my good friend from the board, Jeff Kovacs, Jeff from Point Pleasant, he's saying that, and he's usually pretty good. He's saying he's hearing former Seton Hall assistant Chris Collins, Doug Collins' son, might be in on the Nova job, and that would probably be a good thing. As far as young Pitino following his father, I thought that too. But if you watch St. John's games, and I can't pronounce his name, but Steve Massimilio, I think that's how it is, the former coach of Manhattan, he's got a big presence on that bench, and he talks a lot to the players. So I think he might be kind of lining himself up for that too. I don't know if the father over there is into that, if that's what they're looking for down the road, or if the vitamin water guy or the body armor guy or whatever he is. But I hear Collins at Nova as one of the possibilities.
Now, I ran into, after the game on Wednesday, walking back to my car, I ran into a friend of mine. Remember Tim Thomas?
From Patterson.
Yeah, he used to play for the Knicks and a nice career.
Yeah.
Well, he played at Nova for 1 year when they won.
We were in on his final too.
Yep. And then he's been coaching high school at Paramus Catholic.
Paramus Catholic, yeah.
Unfortunately, he had a better year this year, but he's probably a couple of years off. But I could see him one day getting a college job. If he's coaching high school, obviously you're doing that to raise your stature for bigger and better things. So, maybe not this cycle, but he's a name to watch in the future. By the way, I have a quick question about the men's tournament. It's my buddy Daryl, who'll be joining us on Surge Sports soon. And we got a show coming on. We got the Coach Gottfried show coming on. That's Coach Mark Gottfried, who played and coached at Alabama. So we have a big show coming to the airwaves soon about college basketball. And so what do you think about Carolina making the field? That was a shock for a lot of people.
I mean, I heard some talk about them making it over Indiana. I know Indiana, they had more wins than Indiana. I don't know. I mean, they had a tough loss. Against Duke the other day, but they hung in there. I don't know. I mean, a lot of times the Blue Bloods, the traditional teams, who've had good runs are going to get that other look. That happened to us at the end of PJ's team the last year after we had a nice run. We probably didn't deserve to make it, and they took us anyway. I think sometimes the tournament rewards consistency and rewards Blue Bloods.
I think it helps to have your AD on the selection committee.
There you go. I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, he's got to step out. He's got to step out of the room and discuss his program, but still.
Especially when you realize Indiana wasn't the first team out. They were the second to first team out.
What about Xavier making it too, right? Xavier wasn't really a guarantee.
No, they weren't a guarantee. They sucked it in.
Nope.
I was happy to see Xavier because I figured the conference would take another hit again this year.
Yeah.
Kind of funny to think about there's George Mason playing Virginia Commonwealth, and the whole country's cheering against them because they won that game. They were going to steal a bid. So
that game, I got a chance to see that game this afternoon. They have a very good team. Both teams played well, but unfortunately, VCU was on the upper end of the game.
Well, we beat VCU, right? We beat VCU and we beat UConn.
Yep.
Two teams that made it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I mentioned this in our chat before. I'm sitting there watching the selection Sunday at 6 p.m., 6 to 6:30, whatever. And we see these teams jump up and cheer. It just made me so upset about this year we had. And maybe not so much this year, but how we got screwed last year.
Oh, we 100% got screwed last year. And the fact that, like I said earlier, they took 5 teams this year and only 3 teams last year. And just think, 9 years ago, I was at Walsh, sitting there watching Selection Sunday at Walsh as they, drew us last. So, bye, Christina. Have a good night. And Christina was there, too, watching it. And then, they had to hop on a plane the next day and fly out to Colorado to play Gonzaga. Hopefully we'll get back to those days sooner than later, I hope. But we're going to need the NIL money to do it. Just the way it is. I mean, yeah.
I mean, we had that. Then didn't we have a couple years later with the Delgado team where they almost knocked off Kansas, but they were playing in Kansas?
That was the next year. They played in Wichita.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Somebody hates us. Somebody hates us.
Yeah, I think the NCAA, I think the NCAA don't like us for some reason.
Every school has a list of getting screwed by the NCAA. You name it, they'll tell you that they got hammered.
Wait. Duke?
Except for Duke.
Except for Duke?
Except for Duke.
And look where's Louisville's playing. Louisville's playing in Lexington. Come on.
They will sell quite a few tickets there.
And St. John's is playing out west. In the west region instead of the east region. I was really shocked.
But I think St. John's could play at Providence.
Yeah, St. John's will be at Providence.
St. John's will be at Providence.
Know your territory.
By the way, I got a quick.
Nicole, you have the possibility, and my son, of some really good games at the Rock. You got Duke.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm pumped.
That's a pretty good bracket because I'm high on BYU.
That's what I saw. Apparently, John Fanta wrote in his response reaction to the bracket, like, don't sleep on BYU. They made surprise
Yeah,
some people.
I like BYU. Yeah.
Did anybody look at the BYU, the ages of the players?
I did not.
The reason I'm saying is that for a long time, Brigham Young with they're Church of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
So those guys go on mission.
Yeah.
So they're gone for
Yep.
2 years. So a lot of times they have 24, 25. They got an exception from the NCAA.
Right.
So they have guys who are a little bit older, a little bit more mature playing for their team.
Yeah.
And it'll
So
show.
wait, guys from France. They're our French guys are always older.
Yes.
Reason. By the way, real quick, before we go any further, Coach Boz got back to me. It's ridiculous that the Ivy got 3 bids, and I told him that we're talking about the program and we need to pack Walsh on Thursday. He said, thank you. And here's an official quote that he mentioned. I'll read it verbatim. While we are all disappointed that the 3rd place team in the 5th hardest conference in the country did not get selected for the NCAA tournament, we are very excited to once again represent Seton Hall in the postseason. I can assure you our young ladies are going to come out and play as hard as they probably can to try and win as many tournament games as possible. But as our great fans, we need your help. Please come and fill the gym for our young ladies on Thursday night at 7 p.m. You've been great to us all year, and we need you again. Direct quote from Coach Boz, who just got back to me. So let's do this, fans. Let's do this, Seton Hall.
And Bobby, let me ask one question because I'm looking at the bracket now. I've got the WBIT bracket up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the section that we're in, okay, obviously Quinnipiac's got a great record, as Nick pointed out. They got a great record in the MAC. Stanford is 16-14, and so they've lost a lot of games playing in the ACC. And they lost a bunch. They've got a couple of 45-point losses. You look at the other half, Villanova we've beaten. I don't know how good St. Joseph's is, and I don't know how anybody can know how good St. Joseph's is. So I'm looking at that team, and there's nothing jumping out at me that would be very scary. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Pirates at Hinkle Fieldhouse and get into the national semifinals. There's, the depth in women's college basketball when you get past the top 15 or 20 teams, you're really dealing with a lot of teams that are very evenly matched.
Yeah.
And I think that, as silly as it sounds, it comes down to who's going to play better. No reason that we can't.
I agree with him because, Seton Hall has a strong base of players. It's like me and Bobby go to all the games, and, Nick comes, and Nicole. I think Seton Hall has a committee. Let me explain. Each night, each of the players have a shot at scoring 13 points, 12 points. Savannah Catalan, Jaden Eads, they have a bench. So, Seton Hall has the potentially of winning the whole thing. Let's give Seton Hall a lot of credit because, back in the day, Seton Hall wasn't a great program, but now Tony has become the head coach. The program has grown. The recruitment has become better, and hopefully Seton Hall will do their thing on Thursday night and continue to Stanford, whoever, and go to the national semifinals. It's a possibility.
Bill, let me ask you something. Bill, is Tony the best women's coach we've ever had?
I in my time, I think
your time is the whole time. We start. No, it is. You go. You have starting with Sue Dilley, and there hasn't been a lot of coaches. Sue Dilley, Phyllis, and Donovan.
I've been around when Phyllis was around. I've been around when Phyllis was around.
Right. But before Phyllis, it was Sue Dilley Reagan, and then it was Phyllis, and then it was Ann Donovan, and now it's Tony. Who's the best?
Not too many coaches. You're right. I agree.
Tony's the best women's coach we had.
Yep.
Well, we have to maybe for the next show. Where is he on the all-time list of wins amongst the other coaches? Anybody know offhand?
Our coaches?
Yeah.
Well, what's her
a
name?
long time.
Phyllis was around for a very long time. You could maybe make the argument too long that if it was a man's program, she might not have been around that long. But they kind of upgraded the women's program and went in a different direction. And the same day, I don't know if Nicole knows this, the same day, Nicole, that they had a press conference to hire Kevin Willard, and my son and I were there, they hired Ann Donovan. And, coming from the WNBA. And at the time, it was a good hire, but she just couldn't acclimate to college. And I know Bill remembers that. And then we went in a different direction. We went with Tony, and he's been a godsend, total godsend.
By the way, I asked him one more text. Is he disappointed at being a third seed? He said yes. They're really hoping for a 2 seed. So more motivation for the ladies, I guess. Nicholas Morgan.
Thanks, Nick.
Second.
Nick, who's first? Phyllis or Sue Dilley? Who's first? And how close is Tony to becoming one? I know Nick's looking that up right now as he's monitored Bowling Hall or whatever hall he's monitoring.
We got a long way to go.
Oh, wow. Phyllis Mangini. But Phyllis was, what do you call that? A compiler? Like when you're there for,
wow, I didn't know.
Like Dave Kingman.
You know what? I take that. Listen, hey, Nick, I take that back. I'm just looking at Phyllis at 352 wins to Tony. Tony might have to be catching up, man.
No, I'm going with those 229 are probably more in average wins per season than Phyllis. I'm going Tony. Totally 100% Tony.
Listen, if you go with Tony, I'm going with Tony too, man.
How many? Well, let me ask you this. Look, 1986 to 2010. Nicole and Nick weren't even born yet.
Nope.
I was born in 2000. For reference.
Right. So the first 14 years.
Wow. Wow.
So what do you guys think about the men's bracket the way it came out?
Well, I didn't make my bracket yet, so that's going to be interesting.
No secrets. Don't tell us.
I'm not saying a peep.
I plan on winning, so.
I'm interested.
I think it's going to be an interesting year. There's maybe three or four dominant teams, right? If anyone of them get knocked off, that opens up the whole bracket for everybody else.
I'd love to see some upsets, that's for sure.
I can almost guarantee you will see upsets.
I want another repeat of the Abilene Christian upset on Texas from the COVID year. That was one of the best games I ever watched.
And here's someone who says she doesn't know college basketball.
That's when I really first started paying attention to it.
Inside and out. You're up till 2:00 in the morning watching Boise State against Idaho State. Come on.
Those schools where they got the volleyball lines on the court, right? But Nicole's watching the games.
By the way, I mentioned this in our chat before. What on earth is a lady jack?
Yeah, what the heck?
What's a lady jack? Bill, what's a lady jack?
One of the school names is lady jacks.
When I was actually watching the women's bracket announcement, and I was today years old when I realized that the Tennessee Lady Vols, Vol stands for volunteers. What the heck is a volunteer?
There's a reason for that. I'd have to look it up.
Mascot for the volunteers.
Wait, and they have guns, right? A volunteer has a gun.
It had something to do. It very well might have been guys who fought for the Confederacy.
Fought against the Confederate Army.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, it should be cancel culture. It should be. You gotta change that name. You can't have that anymore.
Well,
did you guys? I know you guys watched the Big East tournament last night when Lewis Jr. was with the gun.
It wasn't a gun. It wasn't a gun.
There was 3.
No. Whatchamacallit does that all the time. On the Knicks. The Knicks who's the Knicks point guard? Jalen Brunson does that all the time. James Breeding is horrible. How that man gets big games, I don't know. I said that. He got a Big East final. He's awful. That call was ridiculous. That call could have changed the game. It's not about you, James Breeding. It's about the players.
Man, come on with this fucking thing, man.
Whoa! PG-13. PG-13.
No cursing.
No cursing.
Melissa, I gotta call you right back.
Oh God! Oh God!
Well, a couple of things that jumped out at me at the bracket. First, I think that UConn's an 8. Okay. That means that they're going to play a number 1 seed on the second game of the tournament. You want to play UConn as the second game of the tournament if you're
Hell no.
Florida?
Hell no.
I don't want any part of that.
You got Danny on the court spraying holy water and incense and everything else, trying to ward off the bad spirits.
And you got 3 guys on that team who can score.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, Florida's very good, but and the same thing is true for Creighton. They're in an 8-9 game, and I mean, I don't have the bracket complete right. Yeah, they've got Louisville in an 8-9 game, but then they could play Auburn, and I think the Big East could potentially throw some scares into these number 1 and number 2 seeds, given where they've been seated in the tournament. The other thing that popped out is I was listening to the guys on the selection show, and they're talking about the 13 and 14 seeds, Liberty and, Bryant and Lipscomb. And every one of these teams has the player of the year in their conference on it. So there's a lot of good players that we haven't heard of in this tournament. Every team's got a guy or two that can do some damage. And
I think you're going to see a lot of upsets. I think you're going to see a lot of good games, and some teams will upset. Because last year I think we saw a lot of upsets in NCAA. But I wouldn't be surprised that it'd be some upsets and some teams that are ranked that were going to be going home early.
And the third thing was we've been talking about North Carolina sneaking into this tournament and going in and instead of Indiana. Can somebody explain to me how Texas got into this thing? They are 19 and 15 and 6 and 12.
Oh, they're one of the first 4 in.
Yeah. How did they get into this thing? They play a great schedule, but have they not proven that they can't beat anybody on that schedule? They're 6 and 12.
14 teams from the SEC. 14? That's insane.
6 and 12 in conference. I mean, we know Texas can't beat the other teams. They've been playing them all year. They've been losing to them all year.
Right.
Don't forget, Texas lost to Abilene Christian all those years ago.
Go Abilene Christian.
So that was the thing. My I was also happy. My alma mater made it. We beat Cornell today in the Ivy League championship, so we'll be going.
I love your coach. I totally love him.
Yeah, he has been there a long time. And I love Mbang and I love Polikitis. And if I'm Coach Shaw, I'm going to be at that game to see if I can steal as many kids from that team as I can.
Princeton?
Yale.
Oh, yeah. You went to Yale? Oh, my gosh. I didn't know that.
6,000 kids do every year. It's not that big a deal.
It's a big deal.
You got Handsome Dan as your bulldog mascot.
Yes, a new breed, by the way. They bred they bred. It's called an Old English Bulldog with like 3 E's at the end of dog. It's a half a bulldog and half a mastiff.
Aww.
Because the toy bulldogs were having so much trouble breathing, they actually wanted to breed a bulldog that could run around and do something.
If you can't tell, I'm a sucker for all the live bulldog mascots.
Yeah, but
that's my heart.
So, but every team has got a good player. Most of the teams are going to be able to throw a scare in. It's going to be a fascinating tournament, I think.
Well, that's what I was saying before. Now it's like it's a whole new marketplace now. It's like going to the mall now. So these small schools with these double digit seeds, these players can now showcase themselves for the big dogs now.
Yeah, and High Point University made it.
And they've got a guy. I'd have to look him up, and I know they got a guy who can play. Now, one last question. When we talked about one of the things that Don Patino said was the its first year he went to the portal and he just grabbed scorers. He grabbed a kid from Penn. He grabbed a kid from Harvard. And he got to February and he had a team that couldn't guard anybody. This year, he went looking for specific kinds of players. He wanted Kadari Richmond because he knew what he could do. When Coach Shaw goes to the portal, do we have an idea of who he's going to be looking for? Is he going to be does he he said that he's learned a lot? I'm just wondering if we have any insight to what he's going to be going to when he goes to the portal, separate from who we can afford.
So my thoughts on that are we have Isaiah Coleman. We need to re-sign Isaiah Coleman, but Isaiah Coleman is not a Batman. Isaiah Coleman is a Robin. We need to sign a Batman, and then we need to supplement with shooters. You cannot have enough shooters in college basketball. That's what we need. That's what we've been lacking. We just weren't a very good offensive team this year. Shot, you could teach people to hustle and play defense, but you can't teach people to shoot. It's something scorers score, and we need shooters. And he could breed the hard work and dedication to be good defenders. But Coleman needs to be re-signed. He's our Robin, and then we need to find a Batman. I don't know who that is, but Patino found them last year and Lewis Jr., and we could do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I have a question. I know that recently some players have transferred within the conference, and I know that hasn't really been a known thing before all this NIL happened. Do you think Shaw's going to go out and try to get some in-conference players?
You're allowed to now. Years ago, you couldn't. There was some type of, agreement or something that you couldn't get players from the conference.
Yeah, it was. And I guess they got eradicated somehow.
Yeah.
With this new free market system we have now.
I'd be curious to see if he'd go out to any of our current conference teams and scap someone up from there.
Well, you know what the perfect revenge pipe dream would be, right? Not that this would ever happen, but who like number one, if you could get, who would you take? Who would be your number one free agent for next year from the Big East?
Well, if he wasn't graduating, I would have said Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Well, but even better than that,
Eric Dixon.
Lewis. Well, he's graduating. Lewis Jr. Go back. Yeah. Let's steal one from them.
No.
Let's get George Kurtz a wheelbarrow full of money, and let's do that to them.
I can't see us competing with St. John's though.
Because we don't have the money. All right, there you go, Nick Morgan, RJ Lewis to the Pirates. Yes.
Nick.
Yes, Nick, I agree.
All right, Nick, way to go, Nick.
Let's get the money, raise it. That's what you got to do. You got to be ruthless. They're ruthless to us.
If you really want to have some fun, maybe we could grab the two kids from Rutgers.
Oh my God!
No, they're going NBA. Yeah.
Fuckers.
Do you think they look? Do they look NBA ready to you?
No,
I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of them. I mean, they don't look NBA ready to me.
Hey, Bobby, and Bobby and Nick and the guests, guys.
No,
listen,
they're not getting. They're
all they were talking about. Listen. All they were talking about Rutgers. Bailey and the other guy that he thinks he's All American. Well, look at the season. Look at Rutgers season, and now Rutgers is falling under the table throughout the season.
Bill, who's your all-time favorite Rutgers player? Who do you like at Rutgers?
Rutgers player.
You have one?
I'm not a Rutgers guy, but I would. No, I actually don't. I actually don't.
Good answer.
Don't.
Good answer.
I'll tell you who's not on the list of Villanova. Steve Pikiell.
No.
Yeah.
His stock went way down this year, huh?
In a mediocre Big Ten season, with 2 5-star recruits, they did nothing. Nothing. I love it. Makes me feel a little better about our program.
Are you rah? Are you rah?
Rutgers is all hype and water this year.
They come in.
Well, I think the one other thing I'd love to see, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to sign off. because I got to go to. It's a school day. It's a school night for me. Is it seemed like by the middle of December, the decision had been made that the SEC was the greatest conference in the history of college basketball.
Right.
And once that happens and the Nets get played, it can't change because every game is a quad one game if you're in that conference. And Nick, as you pointed out, and Bobby said this a couple of times, we can't get a quad one win because there's no other teams in the conference. So you're kind of stuck. I'm hoping that at some point the NCAA decides to wait until the middle of the conference season before they actually start figuring these things out and anointing teams. Because again, I mean, we got a Texas team that has lost, I think, 15 games in a play-in game, and I just can't understand it. So, at some point, the people who are making decisions are going to have to wait until there's actually some facts before they start making them. At least that's my take.
You're right. Hey, Paul, before you go, I see you wearing a Giants t-shirt.
Yeah.
Who the hell's our quarterback?
Yeah, I was thinking Y.A. Tittle would be a good choice. I don't know if they're going to want to go to the draft and get somebody. I don't know if there's a great quarterback out there this year. And I mean, what I want to know is who our quarterback's coach going to be. We're turning into the Jets, the place that quarterbacks go to die. And, we're going to have to find somebody who knows how to develop these kids, or we're just going to keep, drafting guys and have them get killed and then go somewhere else. So I don't know. It isn't going to be. It isn't going to be. What do you call it? The chicken cutlet kid, though. I know we know that much.
What Friday they were? Whatchamacallit? Joe Flacco. Speaking of the Jets, Joe Flacco was coming in on Friday for the Giants. What happened with that? Anything?
No, I didn't see anything.
They're everybody. I'm a Steelers fan and Giants fan, so we're both in the same boat, waiting for one player to say, "Hey, I want to play for you." But
how old is Joe Flacco?
40.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, it's apparent who they want. It's apparent they want a shot at what's his name? Arch Manning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and down the road?
Well, he got screwed because Ewers came back one extra season.
Right.
So he got pushed back a year, and that would have been a perfect setup for him. But now he's going to wait one more year, and so.
Hasn't there been talk about Aaron Rodgers coming to the Giants?
Well, he wants to go play for the Vikings.
Vikings.
Wow.
And if they say no to him, he's either make a decision or retire.
Wow.
All right. You know what? I guess it's we had a great show talking about some Seton Hall basketball, men's, women's. My next show will probably be we'll figure it out this week. Now we get into the fun season of who's on our watch list, who we want to prospect. Like I said, it's open market now these next few weeks, where we can start watching some players and seeing if they'll fit in Shaw's system. But
do we have any idea what our budget's going to be?
Shaw was optimistic during his presser Wednesday night, but not. Nothing specific.
Okay.
Well, Jeff and all those guys are saying we're going to get with revenue sharing, and that's the new buzzword, revenue sharing, $3 million, right? That's what we heard. And if we already had let's say 1.5, and then we up to 1.5, maybe $5 million, who knows? But then again, so there's three questions. What's our budget? Who decides who spends our budget? And is our budget comparable to other teams in the league?
Mm-hmm.
I
don't know the answer to any of those questions.
And reading the article about Villanova real quick about the coaching, I was reading this morning when they were listing potential coaching candidates for that open spot. They didn't mention, like, with this stuff coming, like you mentioned, with this salary stuff coming down, hopefully next season. The one thing like Villanova does not have to do is share that money with a football program. So that means the same for us, right? Because we don't have a football program.
Right.
And Nova actually does, but they're FCS.
The way they decided to do it, the way I understand it, is you can share up to $20 million, okay? And then you have to split it up. And every athlete has to get something, okay? That was the way they set it up. Now, we don't have a basketball program, so we don't, if we were going to spend $20 million, we could spend it, on the men's and women's basketball programs because we don't have football. But the issue is that you got to have the $20 million to spend. And if you look at Seton Hall's athletic department revenues and, what their profit was last year, I don't know that they have, how much money that they would have that they could throw into the pot. And by the way, there's a lot of other schools like Penn State. Penn State runs their athletic department at a loss. Rutgers, I believe, runs their athletic department at a big loss.
Big loss.
As I saw when I did my New Jersey income tax, Nick, we know all about that. So, in order to put that money in the pot, you got to have it. And, I think that's part of the reason they were talking about putting a ticket price surcharge on the premium seats to try to raise an additional amount of revenue that they could put into the pot for the NIL.
Yeah, and then Pirate Blue donations, which were always tax deductible, now can go to NIL. So people looking for a tax deduction at the end of the year could give it to the Pirate Blue, and then you could go to the NIL conceivably. But we need to figure out a way to get NIL money in, and I don't know what that is. I'm not a fundraiser, but someone with fundraising experience needs to step it up and figure out a way. If we could raise X amount of dollars for the rec center, and we could probably do the same thing if we had to, and we do have to.
Hasn't it been the talk of as the general manager that will manage that? You guys have been talking about that as bring a general manager in. Who would you bring as a general manager into the NIL conversation for Seton Hall?
Bobby has some thoughts.
Choice is Ike Obiagu. Not Nicole.
Nicole doesn't want to lose him from her company.
No. Don't
Michael Enzi.
Don't
Michael Enzi.
for this mess. He's thriving.
How about Michael Enzi?
I can see that.
Plain and simple. Someone's got to reach out to Samuel Dallenberg, who made the most money out of any Seton Hall graduate who played in the NBA, and say, hey, can you help us out?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there needs to going to be a big conversation among the administration and the athletic department. Hey, listen, we got to compete with these teams out here, NIL money, and how are we going to raise it on a constant basis? You know what I mean? That's how it's going to happen.
It has to be philosophical from the top, like with St. John's and their Monsignor over there, saying, look, if we have a good basketball program, if we sell out the Garden, if we win games, we're going to up our students are going to come. We're going to up our all the students that come here. I agree. Our admissions and everything else.
Yeah. I read a long time ago that Patrick Ewing ended up bringing more than $100 million to Georgetown, and not just the athletic department, just the fact the profile of the school was raised.
Right.
They're building libraries, but given the donations when he was there because it just raised the profile of the school.
Yep. And
you probably could say the same thing for Villanova.
Right. And now the same thing about St. John's.
Yes.
It's almost crazy. If you really think about it, what athlete from our school made the most money? Is it really Dallenberg, or is somebody in the baseball program? Right?
Mo Vaughn? How much? Mo Vaughn, maybe? Craig Biggio? All
right? Because, I don't know, just Dallenberg, apparently, you don't see him anywhere. Right? I've never seen him. I've been covering the team for almost 10 years now or more. I don't know the exact number. I've never seen him come to a game.
Oh, no, I have.
Maybe once.
I've seen him in years ago. I saw him in the lobby, signed autograph, taking pictures, all that stuff. Yeah, I have. Not in a while, though. Not in a while.
It's a shame because someone like a Sandro, you know, if he was making that kind of serious money, he'd help out because he loves our program, right? But like, you know, unfortunately, he's stuck there behind Webby and everybody else. All right, folks, let's give this call tonight. I know Paul's got to go to work tomorrow. Any final thoughts, Paul?
Only that I think it's going to be a great tournament. Only that I'm very, very interested in seeing who's going to be on the 25-26 Seton Hall basketball team. And I'd be very happy to see the women in Hinkle Fieldhouse 2 weeks from now.
Yep. Bill from Orange.
You know, my final thoughts are let's pack the gym on Thursday. You know, go Pirates. You know, as far as the men's, let's get that NIL money built up in the bank, and strive for next year. But you know, Seton Hall women, let's do it all. And let's, like Paul said, Finkel Fieldhouse, Indiana. Let's be there.
And Bill, it's funny because there's basically four of us. If not every game, we're there most games. It's me, you, Marvin, and Ray Floriani, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because it's now we're in the big dance, or little dance, so to speak. We're gonna be upstairs somewhere. We'll lose our seats.
Yeah, we'll be sitting upstairs on Thursday, looking at
we're gonna lose our prime seats because all of a sudden now we're the small potatoes again.
It's okay.
Nick from Millburn, final thoughts,
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I echo my great friend William from Orange. Support the women's program. We have a great fan base. Let's show up on Thursday, and then if we win, let's start a petition or something to get Bobby on that plane to Stanford, and we could broadcast from California. That would be amazing. That would be a good way to end our show this year. And you could go too. You could go too. But Bobby's first. Bobby's family.
Okay.
William's raising his hand, but gotta get Bobby on that plane.
I was the only Seton Hall person there at the women's tournament.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
It was amazing how many people are there for the goddamn women Lady Huskies. You thought the Giants were the
Where can I get? If somebody wanted to buy a ticket with her, I get a ticket right off.
It's
can
Thursday
I get
night. I'm going to call the box office tomorrow.
I guess tomorrow they will announce that.
Tomorrow
stuff.
they're gonna, yeah.
Okay. And last but not least, final thoughts from up there in the amongst the new Pirates logo, not the one Nick has now tattooed on his body, the old Pirate, which I'm going to get to, the old Pirate. But
I got the old Pirate tatted, yeah.
Yeah, amongst the new Pirate logo, the Gister.
I pretty much echo everything else that was said. Let's go support our ladies through the WBIT. And I want to deflect my time to promote our wonderful Facebook page. Invite your Pirate friends, alumni, and fans to join the largest and best Seton Hall Pirates basketball Facebook group on Facebook, of course, featuring past player profiles from Zay Williams, which have gotten a lot of attention lately. Thank you, Zay, for all the work that you've done to put those together. We had this past season men's game previews from Art and Paul. Thank you again for putting all your time into those. We really appreciate them. We also have had women's previews and post-game analysis from both Zay and HRA Nick Morgan. Maybe they could do some for the WBIT. That would be great to see. No pressure, Nick. No pressure, Isaiah. We also get our Hall line callers in the group, Nick from Millburn, who's right below me, and Jeff from Point Pleasant, who we are trying to get on this.
We're going to get Jeff on to talk.
We're going to get him here. We're getting him here. We also have direct posts from media members such as Jerry Carino of the Asbury Park Press, Jaden Daly and the Daily Dose of Hoops podcast, Bobby Blackjack Garente of Surge Sports, who broadcasts our show for us. Thank you, Bobby. Matt Lazinski and Brian DiNovellis. And lastly, we have our group exclusive live shows, including the Coach Boz show, the Pirates pregame show, which we're going to be holding off on that until the new season starts, and our midweek show, Hall Hoops and Happennings, which we hope to keep going throughout the off season. Maybe we'll have something good to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I see that being an hour, 10-minute show, but maybe even if it's a 15, 20-minute show, talking about what's happening in recruiting and, of course, any breaking news that happens among our family of athletic teams, we'll jump on. And Nicole, you're forgetting one thing. Got to promote our bracket tournament.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. We are hosting a CVS Sports bracket challenge for the Facebook group. Right now, I think we only have about 16 people participating. So if you are watching this right now and you are not listed on this bracket challenge, what are you doing? Get on that.
How do you join? How do you join? Nicole, how do you join?
I've posted multiple times within the group the link to join the bracket challenge. It's also pinned in the featured section. I could try to move it to the front for more visibility, but it's free to participate, no money involved. It's just for fun. We want to see who our top 3 are in the group, who can make a perfect bracket or the closest to perfect bracket, who's going to pick their winner accurately. I think it's going to be fun.
Well, I'm a competitor.
Right now.
I'm a competitive person. I plan on winning this thing.
Last year we had 58 people participate, so I want to see that number go a little bit higher. So chop, people.
All right, on behalf of my team, and of course, Nick Morgan back home, or back in his dorm, with some great information behind the scenes. We are out. We will see everybody back soon. Maybe next weekend. We'll see.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
We'll figure it out.
Thanks, Bobby.
Good night.
Thank you for everything.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Bobby. Thank you.
Go Pirates.
All right.
Go Pirates.